Hey, so I'd now like to introduce the final of our 4 Time to Change Young Champions, and this is Mary George. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Mary, and I'm about to go into my final year at uni, studying history, but I want to go back to when I was 16 years old. When I was in year 11, I was really happy. I had a great group of friends. Academically, everything was going really well. I was working really quite hard for my GCSEs, and all the results came out good, and I was really looking forward to sixth form. And then I got into year 12 and suddenly everything changed. One of my best friends moved to a different school. Another of my best friends, we just sort of grew apart and stopped talking. My other friend was just always extremely busy. So I kind of became a bit withdrawn and slightly isolated. And at the same time, I sort of did start to wonder kind of what was the point of it all. I'd been so focused as a younger teacher on getting those perfect GCSE grades, and it was great on results day, but to be honest, by the time we went back to school, everyone had kind of forgotten about them. And it was now all about those AS levels, and I was like, oh, well, what am I doing here? And I think, looking back, it quite clearly became quite depressed. I was tired all the time. I was, despite my best efforts, falling asleep in a lot of my classes and then going home and napping for 2 hours. I kind of kept up this impression of this person who was doing really well and achieving good grades. But really, I just wasn't enjoying anything anymore, and I wasn't really getting anything out of what I was studying. People thought I was really hardworking because I didn't really go out that much, whereas in fact I was kind of just in my room staring at the ceiling. But I think because I had what some people call high functioning depression, no one really picked it up. And I do think that, looking back in hindsight, if I had just one PSHE lesson kind of outlining some common mental health problems, that would have made all the difference, because I kind of knew the ins and outs of chlamydia and gonorrhea, and I could tell you all about the dangers of heroin and crack cocaine, but somehow in the midst of that, I didn't really see that what I was going through was sort of moderate depression. I did have one of my close friends had some quite severe mental health problems, including severe depression, schizophrenia, and eating disorder. And I was sort of with her through that, but I thought, I can't be depressed because I don't have it bad enough. I think just in hindsight, we don't take that approach with physical health at all. You don't say, don't get that looked at because someone else has it worse, or, we kind of know that prevention is better than cure. And I wish someone had just said to me, if you are feeling consistently low for more than a few weeks, then you might be depressed, and here are some things you can do that will help. And you can go to see your GP and you're not wasting anybody's time. I didn't want to go and get help because I thought other people have it worse. I do not want to waste people's time. So that approach didn't really pay off. I then went up to university. I had a great first year. My mental health was a lot better. I made loads of great friends. But then I went to my second year and things started to change. I quickly, I kind of developed a kind of worse anxiety and depression over the summer. I started getting panic attacks. I then had a pretty rubbish breakup, and on the first day of term, I might add, and just from there, my mental health just spiraled. I got to the point where I couldn't get out of bed at all. It could take hours to get dressed. I wasn't keeping up with the work. And then it got to the point where I had to take a year out because it just wasn't sustainable. I had a really severe reaction to some antidepressants, which suggested I might have bipolar disorder, and I also had really bad anxiety and OCD. So that kind of led to me taking a year out, and I think it was hard, but it was what I needed. And, I kind of faced up to the fact that I had been dealing with this for a long time, and I sort of worked through it all, and I learned to stop being so ashamed of things like the OCD, because, you know, it's kind of, you do feel a bit weird when you're like in a public bathroom and you have to like count to 60 while you're like washing your hands, and everyone's like, why is she taking so long? That's, you know, through therapy I've been able to improve a lot of that, but I think the biggest step was learning to not be ashamed and to be able to talk about it. Going back to university, I mean, the student mental health crisis is well known. Oxford is no exception, but I was extremely fortunate to have some amazing tutors who made all the difference. So when I first went back after my year out, I was really excited. But then, unfortunately, my medication stopped working and I had a kind of depression relapse. And again, I was just, you know, I had this awful like brain fog. I just could not keep up with the work. And I had this one tutor who was just incredible. And, you know, if it wasn't him, I'm not sure I would have made it to the end of the year. And he wasn't an expert on mental health, but he just listened to me. He didn't judge. And he was able to kind of trust me in that I wasn't making it up or trying to get out of work. You know, he was really flexible with deadlines and arranging tutorials flexibly. And when I was just at my lowest and I just felt like I was an absolute failure and I was screwing everything up again, he just sat me down and said, you know, this is an illness. This is not you, like, being failure. There is a difference. And just having someone remind me of that just felt like the turning point in that term. And similarly, my other tutor has been great as well, just regularly checking in, asking me what he can do to help. So I would definitely emphasise, like, don't underestimate the positive impact you can have, even if you know nothing about mental health. Just listen and don't judge, and know where to signpost. You know, say like, oh, these are the resources you can go and find, but, you know, you're not like there to replace the NHS or the doctors. I think you just listening and signposting is the most important thing you can do. So yeah, just to sort of wrap up, I think if you take one thing away from this talk, it's that we all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. I think we tend to associate mental health with mental health problems, but just like we take care of our physical health, through exercise and diet and all that kind of stuff, we need to look after our mental health too. And I think the one thing I've learned is don't wait till you have it as bad as the other people. You can start off on one end of the spectrum, but these sorts of things, they can spiral quite quickly. So I think, you know, we need to kind of remove that kind of stigma of thinking you can't ask for help if you don't, you know, have it as bad as someone who's maybe suicidal, because we all have mental health and we all deserve to take care of it. And finally, I just say that it can be really isolating when you have a mental health problem. And when I start talking about mine openly, I kind of expected people to respond by being like, oh, poor you, I'm sorry, or just being a bit awkward. But actually, the most common response I get is, oh yeah, I struggle with that too. I think it is a lot more common than we realise. And there's just, I think when you kind of feel able to talk about it, it doesn't solve all problems, but it just feels like you don't have to hide anymore, and it's a weight that has been lifted. So, I think if you're a teacher, anything you can do to just foster an environment where people feel able to talk about the stuff openly, whether they've been diagnosed with something or not, is really important. So thank you so much for listening.